something has changed inside your soulmate. Your silence has affected them more deeply than they are willing to admit, and now they are standing at the edge of a decision that could change everything between you. They are about to do something crazy. Not because they have stopped thinking clearly. Not because they want to create drama. They are doing it because they can no longer tolerate the distance between you. For days, perhaps even weeks, they have been watching their phone, waiting for your name to appear. Every notification makes their heart beat faster, but each time they look, it is someone else. They tell themselves they should stop checking. They place the phone down. They try to focus on work, family, responsibilities, or anything that might distract them. But only a few minutes later, they pick it up again. Your silence has become louder than any message you could have sent. It is forcing them to confront everything they have been avoiding. They are wondering whether you have finally given up. They are wondering whether they pushed you too far. They are wondering whether someone else is now receiving the attention, affection, and energy that once belonged to this connection. And the thought of that is breaking something inside them. Your soulmate may have acted distant before. They may have given you the impression that they did not care whether you stayed or left. They may have responded slowly, avoided emotional conversations, or behaved as though the connection was not affecting them. But that was never the truth. The truth is that they cared so much that they became afraid. They believed that if they stayed emotionally guarded, they would remain in control. They thought that if they never showed how deeply they needed you, you would never have the power to hurt them. But now you are silent. And they have realized that control was only an illusion. They are not in control of how much they miss you. They are not in control of the memories that appear at night. They are not in control of the fear that you may never speak to them again. Your absence has exposed everything they tried to hide. There is one conversation they keep replaying. It may have been your last honest conversation with them. Perhaps you told them you were tired. Perhaps you said you could no longer continue giving your heart to someone who refused to give you clarity. Maybe you did not say anything dramatic. Maybe you simply became quieter. You stopped asking questions. You stopped chasing answers. You stopped trying to repair a connection they kept treating carelessly. At first, your soulmate thought your silence would only last a few days. They believed you would eventually reach out again. You had always been the one who tried to understand. You had always been the one who broke the silence. You had always found a reason to remain patient with them. So they waited. But your message never came. That was when fear began replacing pride. They started thinking about every time they ignored your needs. Every moment when you gave them an opportunity to be honest and they chose confusion instead. Every time you asked what was wrong and they said nothing, even though their heart was full of feelings. They now realize that you were not asking them to be perfect. You were only asking them to be real. But they were too afraid to give you that. Your silence has forced them to understand what their words never could. You are capable of walking away. You may love them deeply, but you also have limits. You may miss them, but you are no longer willing to lose yourself while waiting for them to become ready. This realization has shaken your soulmate. They thought your love would always keep the door open. They thought they had more time. They believed they could return whenever their fear finally disappeared. But now they are beginning to understand that fear does not disappear on its own. And love does not wait forever without being cared for. Something happened last night. Your soulmate was sitting alone, looking through old messages between the two of you. They read conversations they had not opened in a long time. They noticed the difference between the way you used to speak and the way you spoke before becoming silent. In the beginning, your messages were warm. You asked about their day. You shared small details about your life. You found reasons to continue conversations that could have ended. But slowly, your energy changed. Your messages became shorter. Your questions became fewer. You stopped offering pieces of yourself so freely. Your soulmate could see the exact moment when hope began turning into exhaustion. And that is when they broke down. They realized that your silence had not appeared suddenly. It had been created. Created by every unanswered question. Created by every mixed signal. Created by every time they made you feel important and then treated you like a stranger. They saw their own part in losing you. For a long time, they blamed timing. They blamed circumstances. They blamed emotional wounds from the past. But last night, they could no longer avoid responsibility. They whispered your name in the empty room. Then they said something they had never admitted out loud. I think I lost them. The words frightened them. They stood up. They began walking around the room, trying to control their breathing. They wanted to send you a message immediately, but every possible sentence felt too small. How could they explain months of silence in a few words? How could they say they missed you without sounding selfish? How could they ask whether you still cared after giving you so many reasons to stop? They typed your name. Deleted it. Typed, "Can we talk?" Deleted that too. Then they wrote a long message. They admitted everything. They told you they had been afraid. They said their distance was never a lack of feeling. They confessed that they thought about you constantly. But before sending it, they stopped. Something inside them said a message was no longer enough. You had already received words from them before. Perhaps they had apologized and then repeated the same behavior. Perhaps they had promised to communicate but disappeared again. They understood that another message might only become another promise you could not trust. That is when they decided to do something crazy. They are thinking about showing up. Not at an inappropriate place. Not to frighten you. They simply want to stand in front of you and speak without hiding behind a screen. They want you to see their face when they apologize. They want you to hear the truth in their voice. They want to prove that this time, they are willing to do more than type emotional sentences late at night. They have already imagined the moment. They imagine seeing you from a distance. They imagine your expression changing when you realize they are really there. Maybe you will be shocked. Maybe you will become angry. Maybe you will turn away. They know all of those reactions are possible. But the fear of your reaction is no longer stronger than the fear of losing you permanently. They are planning what to say. At first, they thought about creating a perfect speech. They wanted every sentence to sound beautiful. They wanted to find words powerful enough to repair everything. But then they realized that perfection was part of the problem. They had spent too much time waiting for the perfect moment. They had waited until they felt certain. They had waited until their fear disappeared. And while they waited, you became tired. So now they are not planning perfection. They are planning honesty. They want to say, I know your silence did not come from nowhere. They want to admit that they hurt you. They want to tell you that they understand why you stopped reaching out. They want to say that you should never have been forced to carry the entire connection alone. But there is something else behind this sudden courage. Your soulmate recently heard something about you. Someone told them that you may be moving forward. Perhaps another person has shown interest in you. Perhaps your family has encouraged you to stop waiting. Maybe someone close to you said that you deserve a person who knows what they want. Your soulmate tried to act unaffected when they heard this. They said you were free to make your own decisions. They pretended they would accept whatever happened. But later, when they were alone, panic entered their heart. They imagined you laughing with someone else. They imagined you sharing your dreams with someone who listened without becoming afraid. They imagined someone else receiving the love they had taken for granted. That possibility made everything real. Your soulmate finally understood that if they did nothing, life would not pause. You would continue growing. You would continue healing. And eventually, your heart might choose a place where it feels safe. They know they cannot ask you to remain lonely while they struggle with their fear. They know they have no right to interrupt your peace only because they are suddenly ready. This is why what they are about to do is not only a confession. It is a risk. They are preparing themselves for the possibility that you may say no. They are preparing to hear that they waited too long. They are preparing to accept that your silence may be a boundary, not an invitation to chase harder. But even if the answer hurts, they need the truth. They can no longer survive inside assumptions. They would rather hear a painful answer from you than continue creating hundreds of endings inside their mind. So they made a decision this morning. They chose a day. They chose a place. They decided they would reach out one final time before showing up. The message will be simple. I need to speak with you honestly. I understand if you do not want to see me, but I cannot allow this story to end without taking responsibility for what I did. They are not going to demand a response. They are not going to pressure you. They are going to give you a choice. That may not sound crazy to everyone, but for your soulmate, it is the bravest thing they have ever done. This is someone who has spent years avoiding rejection. Someone who learned to hide feelings before another person could use them against them. Someone who would rather disappear than admit they needed love. Now they are preparing to place their heart directly in your hands. They know you could reject it. But they are doing it anyway. Your silence has shown them that losing you quietly would be more painful than being rejected honestly. There is one more part of this decision they have not shared with anyone. Your soulmate has been carrying something that belongs to you. It may be a photograph, a small gift, a letter they never gave you, something connected to a memory between you. They have kept it hidden. Whenever they tried to convince themselves to move on, they looked at it. It reminded them that the connection was not imaginary. It reminded them of a version of themselves that felt more open, hopeful, and alive around you. They are planning to bring it when they see you. Not as a way to manipulate your emotions. They want to return it because they believe you deserve to know how much that memory meant. But part of them is hoping you will tell them to keep it. They are hoping that when you look into their eyes, you will see the change. They are hoping your silence does not mean love has disappeared. They are hoping it only means you became tired of waiting for actions. And this time, they are bringing action. They have begun changing other parts of their life too. They are speaking honestly with people around them. They are ending situations that kept them emotionally unavailable. They are confronting the fear that made them run whenever love became serious. They know one dramatic gesture cannot prove permanent change. They know showing up once does not erase the past. But they believe every transformation begins with one courageous decision. This is theirs. Still, someone is trying to stop them. A person close to your soulmate knows what they are planning. This person told them not to contact you. They said your silence was already an answer. They warned that showing up might make them look desperate. They advised your soulmate to protect their pride and move on. For a moment, your soulmate listened. Pride has always been one of their strongest protections. It tells them not to reveal too much. It tells them that the person who cares less has more power. It tells them that silence is safer than vulnerability. But then your soulmate remembered what pride had already cost. It cost them conversations with you. It cost them emotional closeness. It may have cost them your trust. They are no longer willing to let it cost them the entire connection. So they told this person something unexpected. I would rather look foolish for being honest than spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened. That was the moment the decision became final. Your soulmate is about to contact you. They are about to admit that your silence broke through every wall they had built. They are about to tell you that they miss you, regret hurting you, and still imagine a future where both of you choose each other without games. But they are also preparing to respect whatever answer you give. If you ask for time, they will wait without pressuring you. If you ask for proof, they will show change through consistency. If you say the connection is over, they will have to accept the consequences of waiting too long. Yet there is one response they secretly hope to hear. They hope you will say, I did not stop caring. I only stopped chasing. Because that would mean the love is not gone. It would mean the connection may not need to be created again. It may only need to be rebuilt differently. With honesty. With boundaries. With equal effort. Your soulmate is closer than you think to taking this step. The message may already be written. The journey may already be planned. The object connected to your memory may already be inside their pocket. They are terrified. But for the first time, their fear is not making them run away. It is pushing them toward you. And when they finally stand before you, they are going to reveal something they have never told you. The real reason they became distant. The secret decision they made about you months ago. And the promise they were too frightened to keep. Your silence did not make them forget you. It forced them to understand how deeply they love you. Now they are about to do something that no one around them expects. Something that could either close this story forever or open the door to the future both of you were too afraid to choose. And before they do it, they are whispering one final request. Please do not mistake my fear for a lack of love. I am coming to tell you the truth. The message arrived sooner than you expected. For a moment, you simply stared at the screen. I need to speak with you honestly. I understand if you do not want to see me, but I cannot allow this story to end without taking responsibility for what I did. Your heart reacted before your mind could decide what the words meant. Part of you had imagined this message many times. You had wondered what it would feel like if your soulmate finally stopped hiding. You had imagined them admitting their feelings, explaining the distance, and giving you the clarity you once asked for so patiently. But now that the moment had arrived, you did not feel only happiness. You felt fear. Because their message had come after your silence had already begun healing something inside you. You had stopped chasing because you were tired of questioning your worth. You had stopped reaching out because every attempt seemed to place your heart in the same painful position. You still cared. But caring had become exhausting. Your silence was not punishment. It was protection. And now your soulmate was asking to step inside the peace you had worked so hard to rebuild. You read their message again. They had given you a choice. They were not demanding that you meet them. They were not accusing you of being cold. They were not trying to make you feel guilty for pulling away. That difference mattered. Still, you did not answer immediately. On the other side, your soulmate watched the screen. They could see that the message had been delivered, but there was no response. Every passing minute became heavier. They imagined you reading the words and shaking your head. They imagined you deleting the message. They imagined you showing it to someone close to you and saying, "They are too late." For a few moments, fear nearly controlled them again. They wanted to send another message. Then another. They wanted to explain everything before you had the chance to misunderstand. But they stopped themselves. They remembered that their past behavior had already placed too much emotional pressure on you. If this was truly about change, they had to respect your space. So they waited. They sat beside the small object they had kept for months. It was something connected to you. Something simple. Perhaps a note you once gave them without realizing how much it would matter. Perhaps a photograph from a day when both of you had been genuinely happy. Maybe it was a small gift you thought they had forgotten. They had carried it through every attempt to move on. Whenever they convinced themselves that the connection meant nothing, they looked at it. And every time, the memory returned. The way you had looked at them. The way they had felt safe for just a moment. The way their heart had known something their fear refused to accept. They had planned to return it if you said the connection was over. But secretly, they wanted you to ask them to keep it. Hours passed. Then your reply appeared. "We can talk. But I need honesty, not another emotional promise." Your soulmate read the sentence slowly. Relief entered their body, but so did shame. You had made the condition clear. You were not asking for beautiful words. You wanted truth. And truth meant they could not hide the parts that made them look weak, confused, or responsible for hurting you. They replied with a time and place. Somewhere private but safe. Somewhere neither of you would feel trapped. Then the waiting began again. The day of the meeting felt unreal. Your soulmate woke before the alarm. They had barely slept. They stood in front of the mirror and tried to practice what they wanted to say, but every version sounded rehearsed. They did not want to arrive with a speech designed to win you back. They wanted to arrive as themselves. So they placed the object connected to you inside their pocket and left. You arrived first. You told yourself that meeting them did not mean forgiving them. It did not mean reopening the connection. It only meant you were willing to hear the truth. Still, when you saw them approaching, something inside you shifted. They looked different. Not physically. Their energy was different. The confidence they usually used as protection was gone. They looked nervous. Human. Vulnerable. For a few seconds, neither of you spoke. Your soulmate had imagined this moment so many times, but now every sentence disappeared. You looked at them and waited. Finally, they said your name. Then they apologized. Not quickly. Not casually. They said they were sorry for making you carry the emotional weight of the connection. They apologized for expecting you to understand feelings they never explained. They admitted that they had enjoyed your presence while refusing to give you the security you deserved. They did not blame timing. They did not blame their past. They said, "I was afraid, but the way I handled that fear hurt you. That was my responsibility." You remained quiet. Their voice began to shake. They told you about the night they read your old messages. They explained how they noticed your energy changing over time. They said they could see the exact moment when hope had begun leaving your words. They admitted that understanding this had broken them. You asked the question that had been waiting inside you. Why did my silence matter when my words did not? The question stopped them. They lowered their eyes. Because your words required me to change, they said. Your silence showed me what would happen if I refused. The honesty of the answer hurt, but it was real. They admitted they had believed you would always return. They had depended on your patience without respecting how much it cost you. They thought your love meant they had unlimited time. Your silence destroyed that illusion. Then they said something you did not expect. I was not only afraid of losing you. I was afraid that if I chose you completely, I would have no excuse left to live halfway. You looked at them carefully. They explained that loving you had forced them to confront other parts of their life. Relationships that were no longer healthy. Promises they had made from fear. Dreams they had abandoned because they did not want to disappoint others. They had kept you at a distance because choosing you would have required choosing honesty everywhere else. It would have meant changing. And change terrified them. But your silence made staying the same feel even more terrifying. They reached into their pocket and took out the object. When you saw it, your expression changed. You recognized it immediately. It belonged to a memory you thought they had forgotten. They held it carefully. I kept this because it reminded me of the moment I decided you mattered more than I wanted to admit. You asked when that decision had happened. They told you. It was months ago. Long before your silence. Long before they admitted anything. There had been a day when you had been struggling, but you still found a way to show kindness to someone else. Your soulmate had watched you choose compassion while carrying your own pain. That was the moment they saw your heart clearly. That was the moment they imagined a future with you. But instead of moving closer, they became distant. Because once they saw the possibility of a future, they also saw everything they could lose. You felt anger rise again. So you knew what you felt, you said, and you still allowed me to question everything? They did not defend themselves. Yes. The answer was quiet. Painful. Honest. They said they had mistaken emotional avoidance for control. They thought staying silent would prevent the connection from becoming too serious. But their feelings continued growing in private while you were left with confusion. They understood now that they had protected themselves by making you feel unsafe. That was not love. At least, it was not love expressed in a healthy way. Then you asked them what the crazy thing was. Why had they said they were about to do something no one expected? Your soulmate took a deep breath. They had planned to leave. Not only the city or the situation. They had been offered an opportunity far away. A new job. A major life change. Something they had not told you about. Before your silence, they had almost accepted it. Part of them believed distance would solve everything. If they left, they would not have to face the connection. They would not have to admit that they loved you. They could begin again somewhere your presence did not remind them of what they were avoiding. But when you became silent, the opportunity stopped feeling like freedom. It began feeling like escape. They imagined leaving without telling you. They imagined you eventually discovering that they were gone. They imagined the story ending without one honest conversation. And they realized they could not do it. The crazy decision was not simply showing up. They had rejected the opportunity. They had changed a plan that could have taken them away for years. They had done it before knowing whether you would forgive them. You stared at them. Part of you wanted to feel moved. Another part felt concerned. You told them you had never asked them to sacrifice their future. They nodded. I know. I did not reject it to make you responsible for me. I rejected it because I realized I was using it to run away. That answer changed the meaning. They were not asking you to reward the decision. They were saying that your silence had forced them to stop escaping from their own life. They wanted to remain and face what they had avoided. Whether or not you chose them. You asked what would happen if you said the connection was over. They looked directly at you. I would be devastated. But I would still know I finally stopped running. For the first time, you believed they understood the difference between love and possession. They wanted you. But they were not claiming that wanting you gave them the right to receive you. Still, one question remained. What did they expect now? They answered carefully. Not a relationship today. Not immediate forgiveness. They wanted a chance to rebuild trust. They wanted to communicate consistently. They wanted to prove that they could stay present after the emotional moment ended. You told them that promises were easy in intense conversations. They agreed. Then they said, "Do not believe this meeting. Watch what I do after it." Those words stayed with you. You did not give them the answer they secretly hoped for. You did not say everything was forgiven. You did not promise that love would be enough. Instead, you gave them a boundary. You said that if they wanted to rebuild the connection, they had to stop disappearing. They had to speak when they felt afraid. They had to understand that you would no longer chase them through silence. If they pulled away again without communication, you would not follow. Your soulmate accepted every word. They did not bargain. They did not ask for special treatment. Then they held out the object. They said they were ready to return it if you wanted the chapter closed. You looked at it. Then you looked at them. A long silence passed between you. Finally, you pushed their hand gently back toward them. "Keep it for now." The words were small. But to your soulmate, they felt like hope. Not forgiveness. Not certainty. A small opening. A chance. Their eyes filled with tears. They tried to look away, but this time they stopped hiding. They allowed you to see what your silence had done. It had not made them stop loving you. It had made them realize that love without courage was slowly becoming regret. The meeting ended without dramatic promises. There was no perfect embrace. No instant ending to the pain. You both walked away knowing the future would depend on what happened next. And your soulmate understood that the real crazy act was not rejecting an opportunity or standing in front of you with their heart exposed. The real act of courage would be consistency. Calling when they said they would. Speaking before fear became distance. Respecting your boundaries even when they wanted more. Choosing honesty on ordinary days. For the next several days, they did exactly that. They did not overwhelm you. They did not send endless emotional messages. They checked in calmly. They listened. They allowed the connection to move slowly. And each time they felt the old urge to disappear, they told you the truth instead. But there is one thing they still have not revealed. The opportunity they rejected was not offered randomly. Someone close to them had arranged it. Someone who knew about you. Someone who wanted your soulmate far away before they had the courage to speak. When this person learned that the opportunity had been refused, they became angry. They accused your soulmate of throwing away their future because of you. But your soulmate discovered something hidden inside the offer. A condition they had not noticed before. If they had accepted it, contact with you would have become nearly impossible. The person who arranged everything had planned the distance carefully. And now your soulmate believes your silence did more than force them to become honest. It may have saved them from making a decision designed by someone who wanted this connection to disappear. They are gathering the truth. They are preparing to tell you who arranged the opportunity. And when you discover the identity of that person, you will understand why your soulmate's sudden courage has made someone else deeply afraid.